this morning we have to talk about two things, whether we like it or not. First one, the courts made a ruling yesterday on one issue, the Finance Act 2023. And this is what they said, that indeed this is now a matter of public importance. So I could look at it and say, well, because it's an emotive issue, it's an issue of public importance, we therefore ask the Chief Justice to form a bench that is going to listen to this particular issue. So what essentially that means is that those conservatory orders that the government wanted the High Court to lift so that they could continue with the implementation of the Finance Act, that particular wish was not granted to the government. So as far as we are concerned, the Finance Act is not yet been implemented. So we do not know up to when, at least until that particular case is concluded. Second issue that we have to talk about this morning, it is Raila Amolo Odinga's push to have the 15 million signatures. Remember, he's launching it today as he gets ready to go to the streets tomorrow. Now, here's the puzzle, is that after you collect the signatures, then where do they end up? Because even if then we have the 10 million signatures, it's not clear in law where that particular proceeding would essentially put the president and one opposition leader, Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, another issue that we gotta talk about this morning, it is the ouster of one Secretary General for Jubilee Party, because yesterday the Political Parties Tribunal has essentially held the appointment of Kanini Kega as Jubilee Party's acting Secretary General. Right, that's exactly what we're waiting for. Monday, we're going to talk about it this morning. That means that the tribunal has also upheld the expulsion of Jeremiah Kioni and David Murathe from the party. Interesting areas then that indeed form what Kenyans are talking about this morning. What that means for the Jubilee Party going forward is essentially interesting to really look at, because that essentially also puts one chairman, that is former President Uhuru Kenyatta, into question as well. Now, does this really mean that indeed the Jubilee Party then is looking to completely break away from the Azimio coalition? That is another issue that we're going to look at this morning, plus many others, essentially into issues around now how taxes, and I'm talking about fuel taxes in the country, have beaten South Africa and the US on higher VAT. Now, if you look at exactly where we are in terms of taxes, we are now up to 40% on our pump costs. That's essentially on the taxes alone. So VAT, also taxes essentially account for 40%. If you go to South Africa, it's only 30%. And if you go to US, Illinois, essentially the capital of oil, it is just about 14% of those taxes, then accounting for the entire cost of a liter of those products. So if you look at where we are, then you will see that indeed that is why that particular case has been taken to that special judge bench that is going to be formed by the Chief Justice to look into this particular areas. Good. That plus many other issues that we're going to look at this morning. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Thank you very much for choosing to begin your day with us right here on Lookuptv. We are online on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Let's start using the hashtag Morning Drift. We are with you all the way to 9:30 this morning. Let me then take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be showing you exactly what it is that you are waking up to this morning in your newspapers this morning. Welcome back. In case you are just joining us, this is Lookuptv. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. This is most definitely the morning drift. Thank you very much for choosing to continue your day with us. Good. All right. Let's then continue to the dailies this morning, and we're going to start with the Daily Nation. All right. Let's then see exactly what it is that they have this morning in terms of the biggest headline. They've essentially used one word: blocked. And then you do know exactly what that is. President RUTO suffered another blow yesterday after the High Court declined to lift orders suspending the implementation of the Finance Act 2023, instead asking the Chief Justice to constitute a bench to hear the weighty taxation matter. This coming as a reprieve to Kenyans hit hard by the high cost of living, for whom higher taxes would translate into worsening an already bad situation. That story has been covered on page 7 of the Daily Nation, and we're going to look keenly or quickly into what is around that area so that we can get to see what then it means this morning in terms of that particular ruling. And we're going to talk about it this morning on our big conversation on then what it means for the plans for the Azimio coalition. All right. Essentially what they're saying here is Busia Senator Okiya Omtatah and 6 others have challenged the Finance Act 2023, arguing that the failure to represent the finance the failure to present the Finance Bill 2023 to the Senate violated Section 43 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. Mr. Omtatah argued that the PFM Act provides that the Cabinet Secretary shall submit to Parliament, not to the National Assembly alone, the Finance Bill setting out the revenue-raising measures for the national government, together with a policy statement expounding on these particular measures. That essentially means then that this particular case essentially would be listened to by that special bench that's going to be constituted by the Chief Justice. Now, this is saying that additionally, lifting the conservatory orders will mitigate against the public interest, as there is a real risk of public being subjected to a non-constitutional law should the petitioner succeed. That is according to High Court Judge Mugure Thande in that particular ruling yesterday. Those details have essentially been covered on page 7 of the Daily Nation. Let's look at another story this morning here, and this is touching on a party leader of ODM, that is Raila Amolo Odinga, who has said that we are peaceful citizens who respect the rule of law. We will exercise our democratic right peacefully and in an organized manner. Wednesday was speaking yesterday essentially on the planned second day Sabasaba demos that is essentially been pushing under the economy as it pushes for the 10+ million signatures that it says would essentially show what majority of Kenyans really are talking about as regards the leadership of the country. Now, it's a particular issue here that has been covered on page 5, and we're going to talk about this morning as well. Partyless, that's the question that I'm asking. Uhuru's top allies lose court battle for Jubilee. As saying, former President Uhuru Kenyatta suffered a big setback yesterday after his allies, former members of Parliament Jeremiah Kioni and David Murathe, lost the court battle for Jubilee Party. Mr. Kioni had filed his appeal at the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal on May 25th after the party's registrar Anna Derito declared that he and Mr. Murathe had been duly removed from office. Interesting story. Read it on page 5, but stick around because indeed we're going to talk about it this morning on what that means then for the Jubilee Party leadership, because now it seems as if Kioni and Murathe's function ceases to exist. Good. All right, other stories that have been covered here is on how MF board meets to decide on Kenya's new 57.8 billion shillings loan. That is on the back page of the Daily Nation. And slight relief for July power prices have essentially dropped by 3.5%. That story has been covered on page 25 as well. Now, you don't know exactly what it is then once you wake up to this particular newspaper. I don't know exactly what to mean. By the way, some of these stories, actually, majority of them have been covered on our website this morning. That is on our www.lookuptv.co.ke. Let's move on to the Standard this morning. This is the big question here. It's not about the Finance Act ruling. It is on Raila's 15 million signature puzzle. This is what they're asking. Azimio leaders will today launch the collection of the millions of signatures from Kenyans who expressed discontent with the government. However, opinion is split on what follows after the exercise is complete. That story has been covered on our page 11 with the pictures right there of Azimio leader Raila Amolo Odinga. Essentially, it was pictured yesterday, taking a matatu to work in protest or in solidarity to the high costs of fuel in the country. Interesting pictures. Read that story right there. It was pictured yesterday, walking to the CBD to pick up matatu to Nairobi CBD yesterday. He met his supporters to discuss the high cost of living and the demonstrations against the government. Now, you do know exactly where to find that story. Pages 11. By the way, this story again has been covered extensively on our website. That is www.lookuptv.co.ke. This particular story here, on David Lagarde wines and dines with the high and mighty. His property portfolio is the envy of global investors, but to auctioneers is a loan defaulter that puts his multi-billionaire tea estate and Mombasa property under the hammer. That story has been covered on page 3 on how auctioneers are essentially running after the property of one David Lagarde. 10 reasons why your child is not safe at school. That story has been covered on page 4. From mental health, drugs and substance abuse to disaster preparedness. A new report now shows that learners are sitting on a ticking bomb. Read that story on page 4 of the Standard. Right, and that story on the relief after court puts a brake on new taxes has also been covered on page 3 of the Standard. Right, as I don't know exactly what it is that you're waking up to this morning. On the back pages of the Standard is a story there about Harry Kane and his new boss. Essentially, he wants to sell his vision to Harry Kane. Yeah, all the coaches have come to Tottenham. They've sold their vision to Harry Kane, but he's never won a trophy. Yeah, I don't know. He should leave. I don't know what Manchester United is waiting for. Yeah, I have no striker, but they're looking at Harry Kane. Teamless. Good. We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to the newsroom where we get to talk about the news that you're waking up to this morning. Welcome back. The U.S. government, through the USAID program, has committed over $22 million towards reviving the petroleum sector in the country. An amount of $10 million from the money is to be used for constructing a petroleum processing plant in Naivasha. The plant is expected to serve over 90,000 small-scale farmers across the country. Let's get more this morning.
During the groundbreaking ceremony at Kentegra Processing Plant in Naivasha, U.S. Ambassador to the country, Meg Whitman, said her government was keen to revive the sector, which collapsed in the 90s.
As the president also said in his remarks, the factory that we are breaking ground on today will support roughly 90,000 smallholder farmers spread across many counties. The U.S. government, through the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, has committed $10 million to fund the construction of this facility. And our U.S. Trade and Development Agency provided Kentegra a $660,000 grant to fund the feasibility study to build the factory. So thanks to USTDA. In total, through our additional support to Kentegra from the U.S. Agency for International Development to expand Kentegra's farmer base, the U.S. government has invested almost $12 million in helping Kentegra relaunch Kenya's once dominant pyrethrum industry.
Elsewhere, more than 20 conservation groups in Laikipia North have received over $67 million million shillings in an effort to mitigate efforts of climate change. The money is to be used for initiating conservation and livelihood improvement projects in the region. The project, which was initiated by Impact Kenya, is meant for restoring resilience enhancement and support through transformational opportunities and resource.
Hii project kukamilika, tungependa community wenyewe waweze kuistahimili effect of climate change. Kwa mfano, ukiwa na kiangazi na livestock ndio wanategemea sana livestock kwa shughuli zao zote. So tunataka kusema kama saizi livestock wameanza kuhamahama. Je, wale watu watabaki nyumbani, wataathiriwa na njaa na vitu kama hizo. So tunataka kusema katika ile effort community wao wenyewe wajishughulishe, wajifanyie kazi.
Finally, court cases have been hindrance in devolved government's work delivery in Kenya. This is according to the county governor Kenneth Lusaka. Speaking after swearing in of 3 chief officers, Lusaka said that the political position have had the counties had time to work for her residents, recommending the American government system.
And find out whether you are the chances of success. Because you see, even when Moses was liberating the Israelites, walimsumbua sana. What would have taken 2 weeks took over 4 decades. Wakihangaika huko, but eventually Joshua aliwafikisha Canaan. So what we know, we would have formed this government kitambo, but now we are here. This is about next month we are clocking a year. People still pulling us backwards.
Achima Tumona, Lookuptv.
Parties of the Sudan conflict have been asked to declare an unconditional ceasefire. Speaking during a meeting that focused on the Sudan conflict at the IGAD Quartet, heads of state and government in Addis Ababa, President RUTO said Sudan armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces must agree to establish a humanitarian zone, saying that the move will stop the loss of lives, ease access to public services, and facilitate a settlement of the conflict.
On 12th of June 2023, the IGAD Assembly of Heads of State and Government, having considered the situation in Sudan, established a high-level IGAD mechanism of 4, the Quartet, to engage in an effort to resolve the situation in Sudan. I am delighted to convene this first meeting of the Quartet today. In this regard, I welcome the members as well as the representatives of the 2 parties in Sudan. I also note and wish to thank all the partners that have joined us at this meeting. Pursuant to our decision in Djibouti, our Ministers of Foreign Affairs convened on the 19th of June this year. There has been a number of engagements aimed at securing a cessation of hostilities and commencing dialogue at various levels. During this period, I have also undertaken consultations with a number of neighboring countries, including Egypt, Eritrea, Chad, Central African Republic, as well as the African Union Chair, the President of Comoros, and of course, many hours of planning with my brother, Prime Minister Abiy. In all the instances, there has been a strong emphasis in support of the IGAD effort to end the conflict, address the worsening humanitarian crisis, and facilitate engagement in an inclusive political process that restores civilian governance to Sudan.
Now, with the planned countrywide strike by public service vehicles set for Wednesday after the increase in fuel prices, we went to the streets to seek your opinion on that of the matatu operators in Nairobi. Now, here is our daily segment of Your Opinion Matters with Hadassah Crystal.
With the planned countrywide strike by public service vehicles set for Wednesday after the increase of fuel prices, we sought to hear from the matatu operators in Nairobi.
Mafuta kupanda imetuaffect sana. Aswa hakuna kazi sahi. Like our clients, huwezi ambia mtu from 1200 to 15 haizi travel, kazi iko chini. Wanamua waende kwa basi. Okay, as matatu tumedecide tukuwe na mgomo on Wednesday so that tuone if government itatusikia. Yeah.
Mafuta iko juu sana, hata abiria wetu wanaumia sana. Wanaumia sana. Kwa sababu hata kama vile tulikuwa nainanga mbeleni, saizi hata abiria wamepungua. Hatuna abiria saizi.
Mafuta imepanda hivi, sisi pia tunaumia pande yetu sasa kama drivers tunaumia sana. Kwa sababu ukitoka hapa pesa kidogo umepatiwa ya ofisi, ukitaka kupatia mwenye gari anaona ni kama umemwibia na hujamuibia. Hii ni hali.
Vile bei ya mafuta imetu affect ni kwamba gari yezi enda na same price yenye ilikuwa inaenda nayo before. Na ukijaribu kueleza client ya kwamba tumehike price na 100 like 2, wanaona ni kama unawafinyilia. Alafu imeaffect watu wengi wa travel. Mostly they travel on weekend kulingana na ile kitu yenye inawapeleka kufanya nyumbani, but ile regular business yenye watu walikuwa na travel nayo imego chini kabisa flat.
Hii madereva kupelekwa shule ndio hawataki. After 3 years to go back to class. That's what we don't want. The government ile kitu iko tu nitoe tu, afadhali tu vile ilikuwa kitambo. Unalipa good conduct, ukitaka kama ni renew your licenses, unalipa hiyo 1050, unapata good conduct, then the channel condition instead of paying that 1050 going to class. Yeah.
Those were just some of the views by matatu operators in Nairobi 2 days to the strike. Hadassa Crystal, Lookuptv.
Machakos County health workers have issued a 6-day strike notice to the county government if their demands will not be met. Led by the chair of KMPDU, Charles Okumu, the doctors are complaining of poor working conditions.
In what looks like a looming health crisis in Machakos County, the county health workers have issued a strike notice to the county administration saying they will down their tools this coming Monday if their demands are not met.
We have engaged with the previous government and currently with the current government. None of our issues have been addressed.
Is at a position whereby we are left with only 7 days. And as we stand here today, we have just come out of a meeting with the officers of the county government without anything tangible as considered by these various leaders.
The health workers have complained about lack of commitment in the handling of their work environment and raising their salaries and promotions and lack of manpower, which has resulted to some of them in working extra hours, hence causing a backlog in dealing with the patients quickly.
Tunazo kwanza ni kukosa kupandishwa ngazi kwa miaka mingi. Kuna ambao wamefanya kazi wakiwa katika ngazi ile moja kwa zaidi ya miaka 10 wakilipwa mishahara duni. Pia tunayo changamoto ya ukosefu wa maafisa wa afya wanaotosha.
According to Okumu, most of the health workers have worked for more than 10 years without promotion and have now warned the patients to seek treatment elsewhere.
Issues with the various supplies that sometimes patients have to buy. And for us, this is a very difficult matter because it's a public hospital and patients, when they come to us, when we tell them we cannot do 1, 2, 3 because this and that is lacking, maybe jig, a basic thing like jig for cleaning floors and maybe some material, clothes is lacking, then that's an obvious problem.
Tuoni kama matakwa yetu yameweza kutimizwa. Hivyo basi siku ya leo tungependa kuwajulisha wananchi kwamba mnamo Jumatatu ijayo, iwapo serikali haitakuwa imetimiza matakwa yetu, basi tutaweza kuingia kwenye mgomo bila kusita.
Nushin Mungasia, Lookuptv.
Land's Principal Secretary Nixon Correal has now said the Shakahola land is owned by Chakama Limited and does not belong to the government. Speaking before the ad hoc committee investigating the Shakahola massacre, the Principal Secretary stated that the land bought by the government was used to settle squatters and it has no records of Paul Mackenzie owning any land in the area.
According to the PS, the government gave the 100-acre land to Chakama Ranches Limited as a grant in 1985, with the government later on purchasing the land through the Settlement Trust Fund to help resettle about 50,000 squatters at the time.
Of the Republic of Kenya allocated LR number 13472, commonly known as Chakama Ranch, to Chakama Ranching Company Limited. On December 5th, 1985, LR number 13472, measuring approximately 40,877 hectares, which is averagely 100,000 acres, was registered in favor of Chakama Ranching Company Limited as a grant number CR 17458 for a term of 45 years, commencing December 17, 1984. 1,090 parcels, each measuring 15 acres, were surveyed. The list of the beneficiaries was approved through a district settler selection committee meeting held on 18th May 2022.
The chairperson of the committee, Danson Mugatana, additionally blamed the ministry and the government of not doing its due diligence to follow up on the company that bought the land.
The question is, how does a government allocate land to people who you don't know their intention? And then later on, all this is happening. And then you say, no, it isn't our land, it is their land.
The PS also insisted that his ministry and the government had no records of Paul Mackenzie being the owner of the said 800-acre land, while also stating that the land had no known disputes.
Where Shakahola is, because Honorable Senator said they didn't see anyone there, where Shakahola is not part of the land that was purchased by the government for settlement. That is land that remained still with the Chakama Ranching. Aware of any lease to Mackenzie that is registered to us, and we are not aware of any dispute. We don't have any dispute in regards to the parcels of the lands in Shakahola. Allegations that Mackenzie has 800 acres. Chair, the allegations we've had also, but we don't have any evidence of Mackenzie owning any parcel of land there. Owner of Shakahola is Chakama Ranching.
The committee has, however, proposed that the ministry, together with the government, should put in place measures to help prevent happenings such as Shakahola killings from occurring even as the committee continues with its investigations. Juliet Chekwech, Lookuptv.
All right, we take a tiny breather right here on the morning drift. Once we come back, my show continues.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Education is the key to every.
The county government of Nyeri, with approval of His Excellency the Governor, Mutahi Kahiga, has granted 100% waiver on all interest and penalty accrued on all outstanding land rates. Property owners in Nyeri County are advised to take advantage of the waiver period that starts from 30th June 2023 and ends on 28th July 2023 on condition that the principal rates are paid in full. Property owners are advised to obtain invoices from the Sub-County Revenue Office where the property is located and make payment by depositing cash or banker's check to a bank account. Take notice that once the waiver period lapses, the county government will institute all necessary measures to recover any unpaid rates and penalties, including repossessing the property.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158 or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Welcome back. The Political Parties Dispute Tribunal has upheld the appointment of Kanini Kyaga as a Jubilee Party's acting Secretary General. In a ruling Monday, the tribunal also upheld the expulsion of Jeremiah Kioni and David Murathe from the party.
Wengi wana
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has issued a stern warning to Azimio protesters, saying that they will be dealt with accordingly. This comes ahead of Azimio planned protests this coming Wednesday. Kindiki spoke as he presided over the operationalization of Igoji sub-county and the installation of the first Deputy County Commissioner, DCC, Meru County. Stanley Lugaria has a detailed report.
A day after he castigated the uniformed men over use of excessive force towards peaceful and unarmed picketers, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki on Monday turned his guns on demonstrators who abused their right to picket by destroying property and causing mayhem.
Siku ya Ijumaa kulikuwa na watu wa siasa wamefanya kile waliita maandamano. Tumepoteza watu 6 ambao wameuawa katika sehemu nyingi katika Kenya eti walikuwa wakiandamana. Tuko na maofisa wa polisi pia ambao waliumizwa na mawe na vifaa butu ambao walipigwa nao na wananchi ambao walikuwa wanasema wanaandamana. Wengine wanasema katiba inasema kuna uhuru ya kuandamana, ni kweli. Lakini wenye wanaongea mambo ya katiba hawaielewi. Mimi naelewa hiyo katiba kuliko hao waungwana.
CS Kithure Kindiki has sent a warning towards protesters led by opposition leader Raila Odinga ahead of their planned Wednesday demonstrations.
Iko right. Kama upendi kitu, mambo ya siasa, enda pale uandamane. Kama ni mambo ya bei ya bidhaa upendi, enda sema pale mambo ya bidhaa nini kwa mkutano, useme vile unataka na useme siku ile utachaguliwa vile utafanya, alafu uende nyumbani. Hiyo ndio maandamano ambayo imekubaliwa. Katiba inasema wale watu ambao wanaenda kufanya mambo yao wasibebe silaha, wasiumize watu, wasivuruge amani ya taifa.
Kindiki says the government will not tolerate such behaviors, adding that anyone who destroys public and private property will be dealt with accordingly.
Ni sawa upinzani, semeni labda muko na uhuru ya kusema, harakisheni, mnachelewa. Hiyo ni sawa. There's nothing wrong with that. Asha moto, unaenda pale, unaibia duka ya mtu ambaye hana hatia, anatafutia watoto wake riziki, unatoka hapo, unasema tuendeni mjini katikati, unavuruga amani, unachoma magari ya watu ambao wamenunua magari kupitia loan. Hatutakubali.
Kindiki said the law does not allow destruction of property, cautioning their culprits must in the demonstrations. Kindiki spoke while presiding over the operationalization of Igoji sub-county and installation of first Deputy County Commissioner DCC in Imenti South Meru County.
Na nimeona imekuwa mtindo kila wakati kukiwa na maandamano, tunapoteza maisha ya Wakenya. Saa ingine tunaumiza polisi, wengine wamekufa katika ile maandamano ya Februari, tulipoteza afisa wetu wa polisi. Katiba inakubali maandamano, lakini haikubali kuvunja sheria. Wewe unataka bei ya unga ishuke na bei ingine ya kitu ingine hapo. Ni kweli. Mheshimiwa Rais mwenyewe amesema ni kweli. Yeye mwenyewe amechukua hii serikali vitu zikiwa juu. Tunajaribu kuleta mabadiliko ya kiuchumi ili kuteremusha hizi bei, kwa sababu inaumiza wananchi. Hakuna mtu anakataa.
Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga now maintains that his signature collection drive aimed at ousting President William RUTO from office will continue regardless of the opposition it faces. Odinga, who made his way to the Central Business District without restriction from law enforcers, urged Kenyans to come out in large numbers and hand in their signatures, a move that he says will bring change to the country.
Midday Monday, Raila Odinga made his way to the capital, Nairobi. His impromptu trip to the capital beginning by foot before boarding a PSV vehicle to the Central Business District, where he urged his supporters to emulate his move by boycotting boarding vehicles in a bid to counter the high fuel levies. With the signature collection drive being dismissed by Kenya Kwanza allied leaders, led by the DP Rigathi Gachagua, Odinga now insists the collection of signatures will continue despite the opposition it faces, in a move to deliver Kenyans from the yokes of the Kenya Kwanza administration led by President William Ruto.
Sasa tutasanya masahihi milioni 15 ya kutoa imani kwa serikali bandia ya Ruto na Gachagua. Mko tayari kuweka sahihi ili sionekane ya kwamba Raila anaongea tu peke yake, lakini ana watu nyuma yake.
Odinga also urged supporters to turn up in large numbers to hand in their signatures.
Nataka kila mtu aweke sahihi yake. Wale mahaslas yote waliongea juu ya mambo ya mahaslas, mama mboga, jua kali, maseremala na kadhalika, sio? Sasa wote wamesahaulika. Kwa hivyo tuko pamoja, si mko pamoja? Vijana mko tayari? Mko tayari?
With the government and the opposition reading from different scripts on the delivery of projects, Odinga casted doubts on Ruto's administration.
Tuliambia Ruto usiongeze mzigo zaidi, punda imechoka. Amekataa kusikia. Mambo ya finance bill mpaka itolewe, sio? Pili, tulimwambia mambo ya sava. Tatu, mambo ya IBC. 4, mambo ya vyama, kununua wabunge wetu.
Odinga once again lamented at the fact that there was an attempt at his life during the Sabasaba demonstrations.
Pale ndio wakaanza kunipiga mimi risasi. Hapo yule jamaa. Huyu jamaa anajulikana pale yeye natoka. Kila mara yeye ananiwinda kama mnyama. Naambia yeye Mungu iko na sitarudi nyuma.
The opposition has yet again planned anti-government demonstrations in a bid to pressure the government to lower the cost of living.
Siku ya Jumatano. Mko tayari?
The High Court has upheld the conservatory orders suspending the implementation of the Finance Act 2023 until the matter is heard and determined. Given the ruling, virtually, Justice Mugure Thande dismissed the application by the state, which sought to set aside the order she had issued suspending the act. Judge Thande says the state did not give sufficient reasons to warrant her to lift the orders. The judge has also forwarded the file to Chief Justice to empanel a 3-judge bench to hear the petition. The order has been extended pending the hearing and determination of the case.
The Contentious Finance Act remains shelved on the corridors of justice after Justice Mugure Thande on Monday dismissed the application by the state, which sought to set aside the order she had issued early suspending the act. While giving the ruling, Justice Thande said that the state, which is the respondent in the case filed by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata, did not give sufficient reason to warrant her to lift the orders.
54 of the Constitution. So in the end, and in view of the foregoing, I find that it has not been demonstrated to my satisfaction grounds to warrant the setting aside of the orders of 30th of June 2023. I make the following orders. The applications dated 30th of June 2023 and 1st of July 2023 are hereby dismissed. The application dated 29th of June 2023 is hereby allowed. Pursuant to Article 165(4), this matter is certified as raising a substantial question of law, and the file is hereby transmitted to the Honourable the Chief Justice for assignment of a bench of not less than 3 judges to hear and determine the petition. No order as to costs.
The state had argued that the suspension will bring a budgetary crisis to the government, arguing that the government continues to lose 578 million daily in taxes since the orders were issued on June 30th.
We ask you to exercise the constitutional power that you have and the discretion conferred on you by law to grant a temporary order of stay to allow all the parties aggrieved to move the Court of Appeal for appropriate orders. Malay, that will not invalidate the decision you have made today. It will only keep it suspended for the period that the parties will be able to move the Court of Appeal. And Malady, that will be a balancing act.
Justice Thande ruled that the petitioners Okiya Omtata and Otiende Amolo had proven that they have a case, adding that if the orders were to be lifted, the public stands to suffer. While making the ruling, the judge also noted that if the orders are not reserved, then there is the danger in rendering the case an academic exercise. She said that lifting the conservatory orders will be against the public, as there will be a real risk of the public being subjected to unconstitutional laws that have been challenged in court.
Public interest requires that this court must discharge its constitutional mandate of protecting the supremacy of the Constitution by ensuring that all laws conform to the Constitution. The matter before me is a challenge on the constitutionality of a statute. According to the respondents, it is tried jurisprudence that every statute enjoys presumption of.
In their submission, the petitioners Omtata and Amolo argue that the state will suffer no harm if the orders are extended and conservatory orders issued. They claim that some sections in the Finance Act threaten the right to property, access to justice, and violate the Constitution in general.
Are not true because the Finance Act 2023 has not come into effect. That will only happen in the event you suspend your orders, my lady. It will bring that act into effect, and then whatever they are complaining of, or whatever they are relying upon will happen. So far, the Finance Act 2022 is intact. And given that the Finance Act simply gives measures for raising revenue, the government will continue raising revenue using those measures that have been given in the Finance Act 2022. So no prejudice will be suffered by the government or by anybody in this country.
The judge further directed the file to be forwarded to the Chief Justice Martha Koome to appoint a 3-judge bench who will hear and determine the matter.
That particular story by Ian Keitani then takes us to our first break this morning right here on the Morning Drift. Now, once we come back, the big conversation essentially commences. The question we're asking this morning is, what next for the Azimio coalition now that the courts have extended those conservatory orders that were supposed to stop the implementation of the Finance Act? Also now, this planned Azimio protests, the Saba protests that are geared for tomorrow, should have they waited? Maybe because now, this time they were essentially put around the Finance Act implementation. And then what next for the Jubilee Party as well once we come back.
Once again, tuko hapa Angel Center for Abandoned Kids, all because of you.
My name is Catherine Wanjiru. I am the admin, Angel Center for Abandoned Children. Our founder is Wamaitha Mwangi. We currently have 64 children, 32 going to school, and among those 32, 2 are special children, and we are left at the home with 32. Now the toddlers and the infants. To the RUTO Foundation, thank you so much for remembering us. Guy, we lack words. We lack words. Amazing. We don't know what to say. Thank you for remembering us. You made a promise and you have delivered. And may God bless you. To my fellow Kenyans, as usual, cheza loto, sio ndoto. Angel Center tumeshinda loto.
Every time you play lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Let me introduce to you one Teddy Warrior.
Teddy means divine gift in Greek.
What do you think is the greatest value that you carry now in you that has helped you become the Ted that we know today?
I recognize a subtotal or the totality of humanity and humans, and I'm able, through pattern recognition, which is a talent that I also have, to summon all knowledge from all the people I meet and to use it to create something that has never been created. My teachers at Lenana, I help them know how to write good letters of recommendation. So instead of saying Teddy is hardworking, I ask them how they can describe me.
Hold on.
Yes. So and guess how
help the teachers.
Yes.
Too.
And guess how I did that. Guess how I did that.
Yeah.
This is important for Kenyans.
The county government of Nyeri, with approval of His Excellency the Governor, Mutahi Kahiga, has granted 100% waiver on all interest and penalty accrued on all outstanding land rates. Property owners in Nyeri County are advised to take advantage of the waiver period that starts from 30th June 2023 and ends on 28th July 2023 on condition that the principal rates are paid in full. Property owners are advised to obtain invoices from the Sub-County Revenue Office where the property is located and make payment by depositing cash or banker's check to a bank account. Take notice that once the waiver period lapses, the county government will institute all necessary measures to recover any unpaid rates and penalties, including repossessing the property.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158 or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray. Pray.
The future is hands-on, and Sensei College is at the front line of technical institutes in Kenya, offering practical and skill-based courses accredited by all concerned bodies, TVETA, NTSA and NITA. Sensei College offers driving and plant operator, cosmetology, fashion and design, mechanics, hydroponics and irrigation, installation, building construction, hospitality, photography and video production, electrical and electronics repairs, and ICT courses. Get free plant operator training when you enroll for plant mechanics, free driving when you enroll for motor vehicle mechanics, and free riding when you enroll for motorcycle mechanics. The requirement is an ID only, with intakes every first week of the month. We have 2 campuses in Nakuru and Nairobi. We provide meals and accommodation. Sensei College. My skills, my future.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles here again. In case you're just joining us online, we are at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Let's then start talking about the big issue this morning, and this is what the big issue is essentially. Now, Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga now maintains that a signature collection drive aimed at ousting President William Ruto from office will continue regardless of the opposition it faces. Odinga, who made his way to the Central Business District without restriction from law enforcers, urged Kenyans to come out in large numbers and hand in their signatures. A move, he says, will bring change to the country. Let's take a look at that particular story. Once we come back, I'll be introducing the guests who are joining us this morning so we can get to delve into this plus other issues that we'll discuss this morning.
Midday Monday, Raila Odinga made his way to the capital, Nairobi. His impromptu trip to the capital beginning by foot before boarding a PSV vehicle to the Central Business District, where he urged his supporters to emulate his move by boycotting boarding vehicles in a bid to counter the high fuel levies. With the signature collection drive being dismissed by Kenya Kwanza allied leaders, led by the DP Rigathi Gachagua, Odinga now insists the collection of signatures will continue despite the opposition it faces, in a move to deliver Kenyans from the yokes of the Kenya Kwanza administration led by President William Ruto.
Sasa tutasanya masahihi milioni 15. ya kutoa imani kwa serikali bandia ya RUTO na Gachagua. Mko tayari kuweka sahihi? Kuweka sahihi ili sionekane ya kwamba Raila anaongea tu peke yake, lakini ana watu nyuma yake.
Odinga also urges supporters to turn up in large numbers to hand in their signatures.
Nataka kila mtu aweke sahihi yake. Wale mahaslas yote waliongea juu ya mambo ya mahaslas, mama mboga, jua kali, maseremala na kadhalika, sio? Sasa wote wamesahaulika. Kwa hivyo tuko pamoja, si mko pamoja? Vijana, mko tayari? Mko tayari?
With the government and the opposition reading from different scripts on the delivery of projects, Odinga casted doubts on RUTO's administration.
Tuliambia RUTO usiongeze mzigo zaidi, punda imechoka. Amekataa kusikia. Mambo ya finance bill mpaka itolewe, sio? Pili, tulimwambia mambo ya sava. Tatu, mambo ya IBC. 4, mambo ya vyama, kununua wabunge wetu.
Odinga once again lamented at the fact that there was an attempt at his life during the Sabasaba demonstrations.
Pale ndio wakaanza kunipiga mimi risasi. Hapo yule jamaa. Huyu jamaa anajulikana pale yeye natoka. Kila mara yeye ananiwinda kama mnyama. Naambia yeye Mungu iko na sitarudi nyuma.
The opposition has yet again planned anti-government demonstrations in a bid to pressure the government to lower the cost of living.
Siku ya Jumatano. Mko tayari?
That is essentially what introduces us into our conversation this morning. Let me just introduce the gentlemen who are going to join us this morning for our conversation, and I'll keep on talking to them when and where they join in this conversation. We're going to be joined by Dana Owogo, or we do have Kigoli Edwin and Eric Mungai as well. Let me begin with you, Mr. Mungai. Let's begin like this. Raila Amolo Odinga now wants 15 million signatures, essentially then to move right ahead and take one regarding Gachagua and RUTO out of office. It's a new move in essentially what he wants to achieve, and he's already said that that particular drive would officially start tomorrow during those demonstrations. To what end, Mr. Mungai?
Thank you. To no end, really. First is good morning to our viewers this morning.
Good morning.
It's a beautiful day. Much beautiful, like tomorrow will be beautiful until vuguvugu la umoja in the but just to come in and say that 10 million signatures, 15 million signatures, 100 million. They can even go to Nigeria, which has the largest population in Africa, and include their signatures. But this is in essence what we call hot air, hewa moto. And so this is just a way to create political relevance. It has no legal implication, and I know they have quoted Article 1 of the Constitution,
yes,
that power belongs to the people, and in this case they want to exercise it directly. But they must also remember that the same Constitution gives us also those who do not support their means and ways also the right to allow our power to be exercised through our representatives. And therefore they can go ahead, they can collect signatures. Tomorrow, instead of a matatu, they can get into a tuk-tuk or a boda-boda, and they can come into town. And remember, these are masters of doublespeak. The other day, I respect Raila a lot because the man has earned his stripes. And the other day, he requested us Kenyans to walk on foot to work, to carpool, so that we can deny Matatu's revenue and consequently deny the government revenue in terms of taxes to do with fuel. But lo and behold, yesterday we saw him in a Matatu, same Matatu that he asked us ordinary Kenyans not to board. Now after yesterday, we'll see him tomorrow again with Vugu La Vita. And I often ask, how come there are no consequences? How come I, as Mongai, if I go to Kiambu where people call me Muturiwadudi, if I go to Kiambu today and do those things Raila is doing, like for instance, you saw his supporters at Central Police Station, how come the rest of us face legal consequences and yet Baba does not? And yet through his organization, we have young men that are being killed that have nothing to do with what he's doing. And I've said it a number of times without count on this show, that we as young people have no resonance whatsoever with those theatrics, something called Sabasaba. He wants us to remind of Haminwa. We have no recollection whatsoever. Want us to remind of the likes of Koigi wa Amwere and his days. That's good history. But the 21st century requires 21st century interventions to save us.
Yes.
Now remember, across the world right now,
yes,
the cost of living has gone high, not just in Kenya. In fact, even in America right now, it's unsustainable. In France, in the UK.
Yes.
In fact, people now are blaming the UK Prime Minister. Why? One, we rely on a dollar that's always fluctuating. We are relying on food stocks from other countries that food is not enough. And therefore, unless we sort our house in order as Africa, we are still going to face the challenges that are being faced by the globe, unfortunately.
Yes, Mr. Mugai, just before I bring in the rest of the guests that we have this morning who are joining us for this conversation, it is, whatever you're saying is true, that once a president is inaugurated, the Constitution essentially prescribes three fundamental precepts as enunciated in Articles 144, 145, and 146, through which a president can be removed from and vacancy created in the office of the president. But Mr. Mugai, what if Raila Amolo Odinga gets the 15 million signatures that he is talking about today? Doesn't that essentially qualify as a vote of no confidence for one President Dr. William Ruto?
Well, Raila is not the holder of vote of no confidence.
Yes,
neither must we.
It is the Kenyan citizens. It is the Kenyan citizens. The ones who are going to get the signatures, Mr. Mugai.
No.
Yes.
No, Raila does not yield the veto power of vote of confidence or no confidence.
Yes.
He himself is a Kenyan, and a Kenyan of high repute. You know, you cannot compare Raila with me. And I keep on saying, the man, I give him respect. Secondly, remember, this is not the first time that Raila is collecting signatures. You remember last time, I think that must have been in 2020, when the election was nullified and he refused to participate. That must have been in 2018.
Yes.
He did collect signatures, for all we know. You remember those funny anecdotes where people were drawing cows, others were drawing pigs on the signature. And that is why I'm saying Honorable Raila must innovate. Look, we could all want to join him because of the fact that, you know, high cost of living does not affect Azimio supporters alone.
Yes.
It also affects us who voted for this government. And therefore, there must be better ways and means for people like Mongai here to join in those conversations. But when you choose violence as a way to represent me, then I am not part of that, as much as the cost of living is high. Therefore, tactics that have been tried have failed. I mean, they say that I do not want to liken him to what they say, that does the same thing over and over again and expects the same results.
Yes.
Magic. There is no abracadabra. You know, you will not say we put like this, we put like this, cost of living disappear. No, it's not possible. And therefore, if Raila means well, there must be better strategies. That's all I'm saying this morning.
Pretty much. But Mr. Mungai, in a proper democracy that we want to represent Kenya as, that if a president essentially is sitting somewhere knowing very well what the number of registered voters in a country are, good, vis-a-vis 15 million signatures that are coming from majority of these registered voters who are telling you, well, we do not have confidence in the way that you're running the government. In a properly functioning democracy, is that not ground for a president to say, well, I rescind my position? Because majority of Kenyans are now saying they do not have confidence in my parliament and in my presidency.
You know, we take jokes too far.
It's not a joke, Mr. Mungai. In a proper running democracy, in a democracy.
And I'm not sure why I'm laughing, because some jokes are not laughable. You know,
Mr. Mungai, can I probably put it in a different scenario? If you were the president today and you got 8.2 million votes, and there are 15 million signatures that are sitting somewhere saying, well, we do not like the way this country is getting run, is that not reason enough for you to be concerned?
You know what I'm telling you?
Yes.
Leave alone 50 million signatures. There are 40 million of us Kenyans who are affected by high cost of living. And I said that's a fact. It's not even the 15 million. The 40 million of us, each and everyone, including the children who have not been born today, and you have seen the cost of diapers has gone extremely high. The cost of formula milk has gone extremely high. So even the children today who have not been born are essentially coming into a world, those women who are in their trimester, they are coming into a world where the cost of living is high. So we might as well say 40 plus million of us are feeling the effects of the high cost of living. That is not in denial. No one is contesting that. That is not in dispute. All I am saying is there must be serious ways of intervening, because we are all after the same thing. So how does putting our children in danger reduce the cost of living? How does deploying young men and women who are jobless to go and face police bullets? And in this case, I do not want to say that I do not support the fact that our children can get butchered animals on the streets.
Yes.
But when you put our children on harm's risk to defend that which you call democracy, where do your rights end and where do mine start? And I am saying even the 15 million, that's a conservative number. I am putting it to you this morning and to Kenyans that the 40 plus million Kenyans are feeling the effects of high cost of living, and not just in Kenya. We could even join our neighbors in Uganda. I mean, for instance, how come Ugandans have a lot of food? Because in essence, what we are saying is that when we are measuring inflation, I mean, the cost of food is a big factor. That basket is a big factor. Why has Uganda cracked the fact that their food is abundant, the prices are low?
Yes.
What can we borrow from our neighbors in Uganda to make sure that we cushion ourselves?
Yes.
Is it putting our children in harm's way? Is it putting our children in front of trigger-happy police? When those families are crying, who speaks for them? Who speaks for those people whose children were shot in the streets?
Yes.
Isn't there a better way of addressing this issue? That's just what I am saying. I'm not saying that we are not feeling the effects. I have not taken breakfast this morning. In fact, if I can do, I'm taking water. I mean, the cost is high. But what do we do to make sure that we salvage the situation? Collect signatures? Who will we use to collect signatures? The same hungry Kenyans? I mean, there must be better ways of going about things in our country and things that are good for the 21st century.
Mr. Mungai, I'll be crossing over to you.
That's what I'm putting out here to Kenyans.
I don't know whether we should apologize to you this morning for taking water for breakfast. We'll be coming back to you now, probably now. Some supporters will tell you, well, if you're taking water for breakfast this morning, then come join us in one way or another. And I do have that particular response from you here. I'll be reading it to you then. Let me cross over to the studio this morning so that I could introduce the conversation. Mr. Rogo Daniel, how are you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic, I can't complain. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. There are a couple of issues that I want you to put into proper perspective this morning, and that's the same question that I'm putting towards Mr. Mungai. It is true that if you look at the Constitution of Kenya, it's only in Articles 144, 145, 146 that tell us exactly how you can take a president out of office. Yes, we do agree, to the extent that we do know that these particular signatures that one, Mr. Raila Amolo Odinga is collecting from the Kenyan economy would do nothing. They would essentially not say, since we've reached 15 million, then indeed we can take RUTO out of office, just like Raila Amolo Odinga is saying. But not properly functioning democracy. When you do know very well how many voters are registered, how many Kenyans turn out to vote. Mr. Rogo, if you receive 15 million signatures today, is that a vote of confidence for your government? Does it mean anything to you as a president?
Well, thanks. And we had discussed this extensively yesterday on another platform.
Yes. Whether
we are in a constitutional quagmire or a political quagmire yesterday. And I've had my co-panelists speak about this candidly. Let me first of all begin to acknowledge, like he said, that all of us are finding ourselves into this situation as Kenyans, whether you voted for this government or not. And by far, Kenyans are getting out to demonstrate that their frustration by invoking their freedom of expression and freedom of speech. I am cautious a little bit that there's some elements and some cabals that in the government that still believes that people demonstrating their rights, far right, is still not good in this particular juncture. Mm-hmm. Let me clear this air that Kenya is a democracy, and by large, Kenyans, if they feel frustrated, they need to go out and express that peacefully and non-violently.
Yes.
Let me begin mentioning that. Secondly, Elijah, you know, I am meant to contend with some facts here. Why would it make millions of Kenyans or number of Kenyans on a weekday to turn out and express and join these political rallies on a weekday and not on a campaign day? Could anyone in this government caution the government that this is a time bomb? Could anyone see that is happening? You know, sometimes I looked at the state of ignorance that we see, that we try to invoke some of these, you know, sentiments without not really advising the government to see exactly. The writing is on the wall. I am not here representing Kenya Kwanza. I am not here representing Azimio.
Yes.
I am a member of civil society. And I'm saying that in any case this is happening to this government, they need to open their eyes because things are not right. You cannot have larger crowd like that on a weekday and still assume that, you know, as government we're finding it right. It is wrong. Secondly, we spotted something that happens on Sabasaba Day. And you see, I'm telling you this as a citizen of Kenya, as a member of civil society, that it was not only Azimio, you know, brigade that demonstrated. Members of civil society were on the street earlier than members of Azimio coalition.
Yes.
I mean, you're covering this. Everyone was this on social media. It was quite clear that this, far that being a political rally that was happening in Kamkunji, members of civil society were up in arms very early in the morning on the streets. And the way the police handled peaceful demonstration from members of civil society was unacceptable. If anyone who is proposing to be a lawyer is not able to condemn that, then I'm questioning their legal practice.
Yes.
As much as everyone is talking about this. Because the country is in a state where democracy is on trial. And both Azimio, both Kenya Kwanza are not on the outlook. The citizens of the Republic of Kenya are making their statements so loud on the street that the prices of food has gone up, that is no longer tenable for them to stay and think that, you know, the economy is sustainable. This is a fact. And secondly, I think thirdly, as you asked me this issue, coming back to this conversation, you asked very candidly, if 15 or 10 million signatures are collected by anyone, it could not only be Raila collecting the signatures. What if civil society collects them? Because the question is, where do you take them? And let me tell you, if there is nowhere to take them, it is a statement that there's a vote of no confidence in this government. Can I tell you something? That in 2015, members of civil society in Burkina Faso went and banned the parliament because they assumed that the parliament was held hostage by the executive. The parliament was brought down by the people. And I've heard my colleague talking about that, you know, these people are questioning about invoking the powers of the people. And let me tell him that if the citizens have begun to invoke the power of the supremacy of the constitution,
yes,
it's a danger to the government.
Pretty much.
It's a danger to the government. I'm just winding up what you asked me. And I think you give me time because you also gave him time to speak. So if the citizens have begun to invoke that all powers are invested on them, in other terms, even before they collect signatures, they're beginning to vote of no confidence in the parliament. Because as citizens of the Republic of Kenya, Simba, we took our memorandums to the select committee. And a survey was done, and it was so much clear that 90% of Kenyans are frustrated and they're having issues with the Finance Act. That if the Finance Act is passed or is ratified, Kenyans will not feel good, 90% of them. What did the government do? And I'm speaking as civil society. The government, the executive, in cahoots with the parliament went and passed that bill. What do you want the citizens to do? And I keep on questioning on this platform, every platform I attend.
Yes.
If the executive is in bed with the parliament and is also threatening the judiciary, what do you want the citizens to do? The citizens, the only way they will do is to go to the street. And unfortunately, it is the opposition that is leading the citizens. I wish that the church would lead. I wish that civil society would lead. I wish that the trade unions would lead. And I wish that other sections, because the media is doing so much to set a pace and give accountability to the government.
Yes.
I think it is incumbent for us as panelists to be truthful about the decisions and matters that are affecting the citizens of Kenya. And that's why I'm here this morning.
Yes, pretty much. Mr. Rogo, I want to take 2 minutes to respond to this particular one as well, because it's one of those areas that have already been touched on as well, that indeed somebody somewhere is saying that there's nowhere we can take the signatures. Is it probable that right there in Parliament, somebody would come in and say there have been 15 million signatures that have been collected today. Those are Kenyans speaking. Can we introduce this motion and debate it right there in Parliament and start then impeachment proceedings right from within Parliament?
You know, there are possibilities, and that's why I said
yes,
there are possibilities.
Yes.
And my colleague has mentioned it there, which I agree. The framers of the Constitution envisioned that the only way a president can be impeached is with the article that you've quoted, but at the Senate level.
Yes.
In other terms, the framers of the Constitution in their mind envisioned that the citizens of Kenya, the Republic of Kenya, would designate and they give that power to the Senate.
Yes.
In the agreement that the Senate would speak the tongues of the citizens.
Pretty much.
The framers of the Constitution, unfortunately, did not foresee a situation where the Parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate, in cahoot with the executive, would betray the will of the people. And in that instance, that's why I'm telling you that there are people who are downplaying the collection of these signatures.
Yes.
And I understand. And I understand people are saying that if you collect them, where do you take them? Because the Constitution gags you in the chapters that I mentioned. But I'm telling them, what if the 15 million people or over 1,000 people march to the Parliament and decided to say that the Parliament is not taking care of the consideration? Could there be a conversation? Could that spark a conversation or vote of no confidence in this government?
Yes.
Who in this Republic of Kenya would question, where do you take these 10 million people to? Who would question that? So I think I need people to be very careful. And by the way, the demonstration, and I'm not here to quantify what the Azimio or whoever is doing. I am here saying that the citizens of Kenya can get tired. And they've already started getting tired. You've seen spontaneous demonstration taking places not only in the CBD, not only in Nakuru, or not only in Mombasa. Citizens of the Republic of Kenya are raising questions in Kisii. They began to raising questions in Makueni, And as spontaneous as it is, what if it happens that as we come, the number of citizens that are going to get out, even on the rural area parts of this country, what will the government say?
Pretty much. Good question. Once we come back, we introduce one Edwin Kigoli to the conversation, plus other issues that we're going to talk about this morning, just on the back of the court's ruling yesterday on not lifting the conservatory orders then of implementing the Finance Act. We're going to talk about that, on exactly how that shapes tomorrow's demonstrations within the country, and much more, essentially, on the Jubilee Party politics. Looks like Jeremiah Kioni and Murade might be partyless, as we called it this morning. Good morning.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Let me introduce to you one Teddy Warrior.
Teddy means divine gift in Greek.
What do you think is the greatest value that you carry now in you that has helped you become the Ted that we know today?
I recognize a subtotal or the totality of humanity and humans, and I'm able, through pattern recognition, which is a talent that I also have, to summon all knowledge from all the people I meet and to use it to create something that has never been created. My teachers at Lenana, I help them know how to write good letters of recommendation. Just instead of saying Teddy is hardworking, I ask them how they can describe me.
Hold on.
Yes. So and guess how
you help the teachers.
Yes.
Too.
And guess how I did that. Guess how I did that.
Yeah.
This is important for Kenyans.
And we are back right here on the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaged. Let me just then pick one of the dailies this morning, but I do see it over the other side where Dan is seated this morning, so we can actually get to look at what it is that they're talking about this morning in terms of what we are talking about this morning in relation to the demonstrations that have been earmarked for tomorrow. And this is what Raila Amolo Odinga is saying. I'm going to read page after page this morning, and I'm looking at the Daily Nation. This is what they're saying, that we are peaceful citizens who respect the rule of law. We would exercise our democratic right peacefully and in an organized manner on Wednesday. And this Wednesday we're talking about is tomorrow. For those who are essentially asking which Wednesday it is, because the Azimio coalition said they're going to be unrelenting in the demonstrations that they are currently carrying out across the country. Now, which is essentially the question that one Daniel Orogo then did ask just before we went for that break, that what if indeed those signatures do mean something. This morning, I also want to introduce the conversation. One, Edwin Kigole. Kigole, how are you doing, sir? Yes, we're happy to have you this morning. And this is a question that one Mr. Wogo did ask before we went on break. And thank you very much for joining us this morning again. That indeed it would be wrong for us to say that these signatures would mean nothing.
That's crazy because, look, constitutionally speaking, or from a political or legal standpoint,
yes,
the signatures would just serve as a symbolism for the citizens backing Azimio's quest. But really, there is no legal framework in place as to guiding them in where actually the signatures can cause some sort of action.
Yes.
But it just to buttress their point that we hold the thoughts that this government is illegitimate, and we think it is wrongfully constituted, and we think probably the Supreme Court of Kenya erred in its judgment of confirming its victory. So it is just to buttress its case, but it has no legal consequence, it has no legal effect. It is just serving as political icing on the cake, but
yes,
really it doesn't hold much legal or practical ground as to warrant any sort of meaningful action that would amount to removing a president from office.
Pretty fine, Mr. Kigoli. And now that is done and settled, that when we're saying, well, indeed, majority of the signatures will go nowhere, the same question that I put towards Mr. Mungai this morning. But what does that tell the government in place? If indeed the Azimio coalition goes right ahead and gets this 15 million signatures, what does it tell the government in place?
The point it is passing across is that the people are with us in our push to have you reduce or lower the cost of living.
Yes.
The people are with us in calling for the reinstitution of subsidies on essential products such as fuel that would have a ripple effect on other essential or primary consumables.
Yes,
which
Mr.
of
Mungai,
course
and I'm sorry to cut you short, but Raila Amolo Odinga is saying that these signatures are essentially geared to compelling one, William Ruto and Gachagua to step out of office. The signatures are no longer about the cost of living in the country.
It depends on how they want to do it. And a number of Azimio leaders are on record speaking about a possible secession.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about a possible secession, you must accompany yourself with some supporting signatures, like legitimate Kenyans supporting your cause, so that when you go to the UN body and you tell them, we want self-determination in Kenya, and here with us are accompanied 15 million signatures out of the 40, around just slightly above 50 million Kenyans, according to Kenya National Bureau of Statistics census report. So these signatures are symbolic, and they're just about to buttress a case, like to add more weight. But in terms of removing President William Ruto from office, they don't hold any legal consequence. In fact, they won't be cited anywhere, because when you look at the Constitution, you look at Article 144 of the Constitution, look at Article 145 of the Constitution, and Article 144 provides for the procedure or reasons and grounds within which one can move for the president to be removed on grounds of incapacity. It could be physical or mental. So it is incumbent upon you to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the president is physically and mentally incapable of governing or running a country. And that is not an easy thing to do, because the president will also have his fair chance of hearing, and he'll come to defend his presidency, and that is just going to be a legal and political battle. Now, the titans will clash, and the winner will carry the day. The proposer will be tasked to verify and to prove that indeed the president is incapable. Now, when you look at Article 145 of the Kenyan Constitution, 2010, it provides for the grounds of impeachment. Now, if you want to impeach a sitting president in the country, you must prove that the president has committed beyond any reasonable doubt and has violated a law or the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. And it is upon you to say the president acted against the letter and spirit of the Constitution and violated this specific article of the Constitution. And you have to prove by word and deed that indeed the president has violated. Now, the president could have committed a crime under international law. If I take you back memory lane, when President William Ruto and retired President Uhuru Kenyatta were facing charges of the International Criminal Court, if the court could have found them both guilty, that is a ground within which one can move to the National Assembly, either with a petition, or the National Assembly can act on its own volition, and one say the president is or has confirmed or is confirmed to have violated international law in which or on which Kenya is a signatory and a ratified member. And therefore, we have given our sovereignty to this International Criminal Court, the ICC. During the prosecution of any Kenyan can happen in the ICC because we've given donated our jurisdiction to it as a court of international crimes. So it could be a crime against humanity, a genocide, war crimes, like what is happening in Sudan can merit a prosecution or a legal proceeding in ICC, and which, as long as Kenya is still a ratified member, our instruments are still valid at the ICC, and then that is a ground on which one can move a motion to have the president impeached. But again, lastly,
Mr. Kigole, now that we do understand that those are the facts, then I want to take a mid-response to this because I want us to jump into the next issue that I want us to talk about this morning. But what does that tell one RUTO, that the confidence of Kenyans essentially that they have in your government is essentially not there? They think that your government is illegitimate because that is the basis upon which these signatures are getting collected. In a proper democracy, would you like to imagine a case scenario where RUTO said, well, those 15 million that are signing these signatures on the basis of the legitimacy of my government or the popularity of my government, it's now time for them to step out because Kenyans have said, well, no.
Now, Simba, it should be noted that it is okay for a president to have the lowest approval ratings anywhere in the world. Even you look at President Obama's first tenure, his approval rating decelerated at some point because President Obama inherited a dilapidated economy. As such, William Ruto has took over the reins of government at a time the country is on a crossroads and between a hard place and a rock. So a decision has to be made moving forward. And what President Ruto is doing and the policy that he's advancing is for self-sufficiency. He's trying to dissuade the country from the route of excessive borrowing, which will spiral the public debt and just get a stranglehold of our economy. Because when you look at the Finance Bill 2023, you find a lot of money is going into debt servicing or debt repayment. Now, just a fraction of it is left for development. When a small fraction of the Finance Bill 2023 is left for development, what danger that poses is that the economy is likely to shrink. The economy is not likely to grow because there are no opportunities to create jobs. There is no opportunity for further investment in our infrastructure, be it roads, schools, and hospitals, and equipping them with modern state-of-the-art facilities that would attract much more foreign direct investment that we need here in this country. But then again, it is upon President William Ruto to make the tough choices. Now, one of the toughest choices he has made is...
Just hold on, Mr. Kigole. Obogo wants to jump in on that particular one.
And that's what I'm saying here.
Yes.
We can't have always asking, you need time for this to happen. This is a duo. That when they were sworn in and they raised their hand and say, once this Bible comes down, this and this is going to be fast tracked. But like I said, we can have, depending on which side we are in. Others would say would be for the government, others would say they're not for the government. Today, I am not here to represent any functions. Like I told you, I am here to represent the people. As we speak, and I hear one of my colleagues is talking about cushioning loans. This morning, look at the nation. There's another fourth round to take 57 billion from IMF. That is another borrowing, the second largest borrowing from the borrowing that was done recently. You see, we have this government where there is a number of, populism, saying one thing, the other, and then the other thing you say, the other thing that is contradictory to what you're saying. And how do we justify this on the panel? And then, say that, give the president time. And the other time we had panelists here asking, we're only 11 months to this government. This government is trying as much as possible to make hard decisions. Simba, who do we listen to?
Yes.
Who do we listen to? I need my colleagues there to listen, because they are telling me, they're trying to tell Kenyans on the live television that President Ruto will make hard choices. If in fact, and I've said here, 90% of Kenyans did not approve, the finance bill that ultimately went to the Finance Act. And this 90% of the Kenyans, some of them who put this memo were from professionals, not even us here. The Media Owners Association, the aviation industry, the private sector, professionals who cautioned this government not to impose punitive taxes on people.
Yes.
And they went ahead and did that. Today and yesterday, the courts have quashed that decision. Are we still here talking about the government being unpopular by their willing?
Mr. Mugai,
and so sad that we are justifying this.
Yes. Mr.
This is
Mugai,
unacceptable.
I want you to jump in, Mr. Mugai. That's the same question that Obogo is asking this morning, which majority of Kenyans, if the 15 million, will want you to answer that question, Mr. Mugai, that if you're not listening to the 15 million, then whose government are you running?
Thank you. I Daniel. I hope as many as possible were that passionate about their own welfare. And second, he did mention that the writing is on the wall, and I couldn't agree more. He even went ahead to quote the Bible.
Yes.
And I want to quote the Bible back to the audience, that indeed it is true, the writing is on the wall for Raila Amolo Odinga. And the writing is saying, Mene, Mene, Tekel. Time is up. And the reason why I say this is because Raila is not the custodian of democracy. That is number one. He has done a lot of work for this country in terms of making sure that we enjoy our democratic space.
Yes.
But if revolutionaries have been known to eat their own children, and this is what in essence is happening to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who's been unable to be succeeded by even the younger generation who might have better tactics. I pose it to you that the fact that you have thousands of people in a market milling around the hyena does not necessarily mean that the people want to purchase the animal. People could be there out of curiosity, and people could be there out of their own concerns and out of their own reasons.
Yes.
And therefore, I couldn't agree more with my brother Edwin that tough decisions have to be made. Look, if you grew barefoot in a region like I did, and you used to run barefoot, sometimes you could get a thorn on your sole. Now, when that thorn is being removed in the evening, it is a painful affair. As much as we both know that the thorn must be removed, there will always be protestation as to how it is removed. And when we talk about give the administration time, and I have heard today's Daily Nation, I haven't read it today, talking about the IMF loan. Look, there is a difference between the wanton borrowing of the previous regime in terms of commercial loan vis-a-vis concessional loan. There is a big difference. The terms are different.
Do we
you cannot
pay?
compare sleep and death.
Yes. Do we
in
pay
matters
for
of
those
rest.
loans? Or
are
they grants or loans? At the end of the day, do we pay for them?
And therefore,
all right,
what I am urging the Right Honorable Raila to do, even as you collect the 15 million signatures, and I must repeat this, yes, all Kenyans, myself included,
yes,
when I get into a matatu and the price, in fact, my route has not increased the prices, by the way. They are very considerate. But at the end of the day, what we are saying
Mr. Mugai, today there's a matatu strike. Tomorrow there's going to be a matatu strike. Tomorrow there's going to be a matatu strike across the country.
And I pause it because someone, in this country,
yes,
we fear the judiciary, we fear the media, and the other person we cannot touch, even with a 10-foot pole, is that we are gagged in terms of critiquing the Right Honorable Odinga. But someone must call him out.
Yes.
As much as you are a revolutionary, a time must come when you must give the baton to another generation to run with it. Now that cannot and will not happen with this maandamano Wednesdays.
Yes.
Causing destruction
Yes.
of property.
Mr. Mugai, just there's one question that needs to come clear from you. And Obogo did ask you this question. If 15 million Kenyans are telling you that the tough choices that you're making, we do not want them, what should be your response as a president?
Who is we? Who is we?
It's the 15 million people who are telling you that the tough choices you're making are not popular.
Remember, Simba.
Yes.
The aspiration is to collect 15 million signatures. That is the aspiration, not the reality. In fact, it's shocked if we can get even to 1 million signatures. That number of 15 million is a conflated number to make it.
Yes.
But you know very well, even when we go to vote in IEBC, you are well, even the voter turnout, even in perceived strongholds, is usually very low. And therefore, this 15 million is a superfluous hot air. It's a number that is meant to bamboozle us. But it's nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Simba, I have asked a question.
Yes.
And indeed, I asked if 15 or 10 million is an inflated number. What if we are able to even to get that 1 million is talking about? What is that testament to this government?
Yes.
That is what I've said. And remember, I was saying you have your own issues to deal with Raila or to deal with the RUTOs, which I may not get into.
Yes.
What I am here to get into, I am saying that if that is tenable, whether it's achieved by Raila or civil society of any other arm,
pretty much,
it is a statement to this government that the issues you're dealing with are no longer tenable with the people.
Yes.
That's what I've said, in whatever way, my colleagues would want to see it. And this is what we are repeating here. The blunders, the legal landmines that are there, the political blunders that this government still continues to do.
Yes.
We are struggling with a court case. Yesterday that was made. And you see, I could see from other angles people talking about, you see that this government would go ahead and implement it, whether they like it or not. The courts warned you. The professionals warned you. Anyone who was at a stake, memorandum of thousands was at stake. They were warning you the decisions you are taking. It is not right. But what do? Kenyans did not. You go ahead talking about paychecks. You go ahead talking about this and that. Kenyans are telling you that decision is not sitting well with the people.
Yes.
You go ahead and do it and call it a hard decision. I mean, what else would you tell? Who does this government listen to? So I am here just to get a clarification on that. Because if that happens, it's a vote of no confidence to this government. And I'm sticking my head saying that here, right here.
Pretty much. This is an issue that I want us to look at this morning as well, Mr. Mugai. I also want you to pay attention to it. Again, it's on the treatment of all the Kenyans who've been going out to demonstrate. Indeed, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki issued a stern warning to Azimio protesters, saying that they will be dealt with accordingly. Now, this comes ahead of Azimio planned protest this coming Wednesday. Kindiki spoke as he presided over the operationalization of Igoji sub-county and the installation of the first deputy county commissioner, DCC, Meru County. Let's just take a minute to listen to this report by Stanley Lugaria with that particular detailed report. But we're going to stop that particular story at the point when one Kithure Kindiki, by the way, was trending the entire of last week all the way through the weekend to Monday on what his sentiments are on protests in the country. Let's take a look at that story.
A day after he castigated the uniformed men over use of excessive force towards peaceful and unarmed picketers, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki on Monday turned his guns on demonstrators who abused their right to picket by destroying property and causing mayhem.
Siku ya Ijumaa kulikuwa na watu wa siasa wamefanya kile waliita maandamano. Tumepoteza watu 6 ambao wameuawa katika sehemu nyingi katika Kenya, eti walikuwa wakiandamana. Tuko na maafisa wa polisi pia ambao waliumizwa na mawe na vifaa butu ambao walipigwa nao na wananchi ambao walikuwa wanasema wanaandamana. Wengine wanasema katiba inasema kuna uhuru ya kuandamana, ni kweli. Lakini wenye wanaongea mambo ya katiba hawaielewi. Mimi naelewa hiyo katiba kuliko hao waungwana.
CSK pretty much. Mr. Kigoledu, let me begin with you. You only have 2 minutes on this particular one. I want to respond on this one. It seems as if Kithure Kindiki now is saying, well, you go to the streets, we are going to protect you. But in the meantime, you should also make sure that all those protests are peaceful. By the way, this coming at a time when all the arrested demonstrators from last week's Sabasaba demonstrations across the country were released. There were no charges that were extended to them. Mr. Kigole, are we at a point where we are learning our lessons as a country that demonstration and picketing is a protected right? Seems as if Kithure Kindiki is becoming unpopular within the government all of a sudden. Seem to have lost Kigole right there. Let me put the same question to you, Mr. Mungai, that demonstrating is going to be a protected right henceforth, and these sentiments by Kithure Kindiki did not really settle well with the government that have been saying, well, we do not support demonstrations across the country.
We have started precepts that we must guard, and one of them is the fact that when the demonstrations are peaceful picketing is allowed, and so long as that is being done within the law, regardless of the pronouncement of the cabinet secretary, Kenyans must be allowed to picket.
Yes.
This is a constitutional right that should never be plowed back. That is one.
Yes. Then are you saying, Mr. Mungai, that tomorrow when they go out and demonstrate, that's Raila Amolo Odinga and the team, you like to see a no tear gas situation across the country? Is that what you're saying?
Secondly, what I am saying is, secondly, is that the right to demonstrate has several belying factors to it, and one of them is that the protesters must be armed. You saw the government, I think it was in the beginning of this week or last week, you saw the government, because I was privy and party to some of those discussions.
Yes.
Some media stations covered some peaceful demonstrators marching from Kibera to what is the name of Kamukunji. Okay? Now that was pretty much arranged to show what a peaceful march looks like. But you know, unfortunately, a peaceful march is not news, because what are the angles? What angles will you be looking for when people are marching peacefully from one area to another? In fact, I would say that Lookuptv is one of the level-headed media stations that tries to balance the views from all across the divide. There are media stations that have different, like 10 angles. You know, we move from one story to another, looking at angles of people sitting, standing, somersaulting. You know, every body movement is an angle in itself.
Yes.
But I'm glad, and I must say this on Lookuptv, that other media stations should look up to you in terms of the way we cover our news.
Mr. Mungai, I want to hold you right there. We're going to come back with you because I want you to complete your sentiment on exactly how we should be behaving then once we go back to the streets as a country, or any time that we are demonstrating, or Kithure Kindiki is proving then to be unpopular. Just once we come back from this tiny break right here on the morning, there's some question that I'm going to put across to Dan Obrogo in the studio this morning on exactly how we should be behaving every time we go back to the streets, because the Azimio coalition is saying we are going back. Then what does it mean? and it's exactly how the country is going to behave once we come back right here on The Morning Drift.
Assalamu alaikum. Siku ya leo tuko katika kaunti ya Kwale. Takriban watu 800 leo watapokea usaidizi wetu kwa hisani ya RUTO Foundation. Kwa hivyo ambatana na mimi siku ya leo tuone hali vipi.
Iko mbaya sana baba. Iko mbaya hali. Iko mbaya. Njaa tu.
Tunashukuru kwa grupu ya Tuliani Kayamba.
Nashukuru kupata msaada kidogo, unaweza kunisaidia kidogo.
Waizidi na imani hiyo hiyo.
Asante sana kwa RUTO, manake imebadilisha maisha, imetugusia maisha yetu, na leo tunalala watu tofauti.
Na wanekasheni, nashukuru na Mungu akubarikieni.
As long as we go with that theme that ukicheza kila mtu ni mshindi, we will also continue to support.
Kwanza na wafurahikia sana, nataka tena wakija wanikumbuke mimi mzee wao.
Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
The county government of Nyeri, with approval of His Excellency the Governor, Mutahi Kahiga, has granted 100% waiver on all interest and penalty accrued on all outstanding land rates. Property owners in Nyeri County are advised to take advantage of the waiver period that starts from 30th June 2023 and ends on 28th July 2023 on condition that the principal rates are paid in full. Property owners are advised to obtain invoices from the Sub-County Revenue Office where the property is located and make payment by depositing cash or banker's check to a bank account. Take notice that once the waiver period lapses, the county government will institute all necessary measures to recover any unpaid rates and penalties, including repossessing the property.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Drift. We are still pushing on this particular conversation this morning into the last part of our conversation this morning. We are still with Edwin Kigoli, we're still with Daniel Rogo and Eric Mungai. Just before I come back to you, Rogo Daniel, let me just pick the last sentiments then of one Mr. Mungai so we can get exactly what this new development is. And I'm going to ask you these two questions. Mr. Mungai, this morning, so you can tell us exactly what your sentiments are on this particular issue. Number one, I want you to complete your sentiments on how we should be behaving as a country now, since Kithure Kindiki is saying, well, these guys who are protesting have to be protected. The courts are dropping all the charges of those who are getting arrested. They're saying, well, we do not see a case in this. They have no charge. And just on the topic that I wanted us to jump into this morning, of course, we're going to get into it on the new development in the Jubilee Party politics. Looks as if one, Kioni and Murade might be partyless after all. Let's get into those issues, Mr. Mungai.
Thank you. That, as I said, the legal requirement on demonstration and picketing is a clear test for democracy. And therefore, protesters who are armed and have no ill will must be protected at all costs. That is not in question. Then secondly, is to say that the rioters who are looting property and were arrested, they were actually released on a free bond. It's not that no charges were preferred against them. And there is a difference between being released on free bond and being acquitted of matter. So investigation are ongoing because we must not allow lawlessness and looting proceed. Having said that, one is to say that I am very happy, particularly happy. I am elated. As you can see, I came to the show representing the colors of Jubilee. You can see there is a tiger there pouncing. On our party leader and the chief Sufuria headman. And I want to say that we are a country that follows the rule of law. And I must say that we are very happy with that ruling. Welcome, Sabina Chege. As for Kioni, Kioni is my good friend. I want to wish him well. The future is bright for him. There are many other parties that he could join. You know, there is PNU that he could join. Democratic Party has been taken. There is a Agano Party. And there is also the Weed. Is it called the Weed Party? This is one of Wajakoya. I think that is the party that he should now join because his actions have of late proved that he belongs to that party. But today is to say justice has been served. The tiger has pounced on our detractors. And I want to congratulate Sabina Chege and Kanini Kega. And you know, Kega in Kikuyu means good. They have done well, they have done good.
It's a pity that we lost Mr. Mungai on that particular one. Yes, Mr. Mungai, could you clear your sentiments? Yes.
And to say that that's very good news, and that is highly welcome.
Finally then, what does that mean for the Jubilee Party?
It means the Jubilee Party soldiers on. It means democracy is still alive. And it means that the courts have shown there is a way within which democracy should be exercised. And this should be a very big indicator to Right Honorable Raila Odinga on how we should be able to exercise our democracy. The writing, again, as we said, is on the wall.
Pretty much. Yes, Mr. Mungai, I know you've asked that you be allowed to exit because you have other issues that have come up that you need to attend to. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We do appreciate your contribution. Mr. Rogo, just before I cross over to Mr. Kigoli right there, that indeed Kithure Kindiki is reading into the situation in the country and he's saying that there's no need for us to harass all the protesters that are going out to riot. That's a protected right within the Constitution. We should offer security and protect them. It is for the very, very first time, we did this very, very much since the protest started in the country, that they were able to access areas of the Central Business District, Mr. Brogo. Should they be protected? Is that the stance that we should be taking as a country?
I mean that definitely would be ideal to protect the protesters, because like I said, and it's been confirmed that demonstration is anchored in the Constitution, peaceful.
Yes.
You know, the word peaceful and accountable, where people are just, you know, are on the lookout not to destroy property, you know, not to burn other people's cars or vehicles. That definitely needs to be protected.
Yes.
And I think the interior CS is in order, you know, to give such an assessment and you know, such sentiments. Like I said, however, even as that is being said, you could hear some tones that are laced with worries about still peaceful demonstration. And it's rightfully that we must confirm every time we come on set and talk about the need for a peaceful protest, issues of Raila needs to being mentioned where it should not even supposed to be mentioned every time, unfortunately. And this is why I'm saying that some of these things are on people, are on citizens of the Republic. Sometimes as we are beginning this conversation, I think some months ago, I told you it will reach a time when the citizens will take it up in their own responsibility. That this demonstration will not be about, you know, any coalitions. It is the citizens that will go to the streets, you know, to protest their rights.
Yes.
And you can see slowly it's gravitating to that. And I would like to confirm that if the Azimio brigade is equally not accountable with how to lead a demonstration, I think the citizens and the civil society is going to do that in a manner that is accountable, in a manner that is peaceful and protect people's rights. However, let me also put it right here that whoever is still, let me repeat again, whoever is still thinking that the freedom of expression is an issue to raise an eyebrows over, whether you're seated in this government or opposition, I think your place is not in this republic. That is long gone. It will happen whether you like it or not, that citizens will demonstrate their rights as anchored in the Constitution. And even the police cannot regulate that.
Yes.
That is a right that cannot be taken away from them. No one in the government or the opposition can do that. However, you also asked another issue here about the Jubilee.
Yeah, just before you cross over to Jubilee, do you think this position for Kithure Kindiki is going to make him unpopular now within the Kenya Kwanza quarters, would you say?
Of course, and you see the pain as he explains how well he knows the Constitution, and of course we respect that he's a professor of law. He is a professor, a very well distinguished professor in this country, who has a mastery of laws in the international, has represented different people in different capacity.
Yes.
But I think sometimes while we come to domesticate such issues, and by the fact that he is serving the government as the Minister of the Interior, he needs to be reminded that that is in practice, that also whatever he preaches, he needs to put in practice as well. So that is without not really going to details, I need to say that whoever really wants to to try to subvert that what is in the Constitution will definitely become unpopular with the people.
Yes.
As the government is becoming unpopular with the people as well. Now, there is one member of parliament, Honorable, I think from Meru region, that has bring in some amendments. Want to bring amendments as to how people would demonstrate, to regulate demonstration. You could see the tones that everybody is trying to make in different quarters to regulate freedom of expression.
Yes.
It will be thrown out of quarters early in the morning, because that is not really anchored. That is actually in breach of the Constitution. And as I conclude on the Jubilee Party,
yes.
Let me say that the failure to manage political versus legal, and I was telling you the failure of the former president to be very abrasive about his political party.
Yeah.
And it's quite important for political leaders to safeguard the interest of their political parties. The intrigues of Jubilee will be left to Jubilee members to decide. Whether it's a Jubilee that is in Azimio, whether it's in a Jubilee that is in Kenya Kwanza. But Simba, Kenyans voted for Jubilee members in Jubilee Party, representative and requesting and respecting that that coalition was in Azimio la Umoja, right?
Yes.
And the subsequent members who were elected during the pre-coalition, I think during the election time, I don't know the intrigues of Jubilee Party, but I'm speaking with regards to the Political Parties Act. And like I said, that I am representing a civil society that is fast-tracking the matters of accountability, including the political accountability. We are having a guidance on how the management of a political party. The question is, our courts must also be indicted. If, for example, a member of a political party today, we are talking about is in the Jubilee coalition, tomorrow he crosses over, does they respect the Political Parties Act?
Yes.
That is my question.
Pretty much. Mr. Kigoli, I want to also bring you into the conversation so that we can actually get to pick it up from where Mr. Rogo is left it. Let me get this response from you. Do you think this new stance for Kithure Kindiki is going to make him unpopular within the Kenya Kwanza quarters, just like Mr. Rogo tends to think this morning? I don't know whether we have the feedback for Mr. Kigoli. Mr. Kigoli, could you kindly unmute your microphone, please, if you can?
Yes, right?
Yes, we can get you now.
Good. Now, as I had said, Professor Kithure Kindiki is a law professor, and he's alive to the fact that the right to demonstrate, to picket, and present petitions to public authorities is a sacrosanct provision that is expressly provided for by the Constitution, particularly under Article 37 of the Kenyan Constitution. And therefore, it is not a right that is to be determined by any individual or person sitting anywhere in a government office, unless there are reasonable grounds to believe that allowing these demonstrations and picketing and presentation of petitions to public authorities would jeopardize security in one way or another. And with this, you must come with facts and details that are beyond reasonable doubts and not those that are just informed by political ill will.
Yes.
Now, when you look at how Azimio carry out their functions, Azimio supporters remain peaceful until police start to lob tear gas canisters and use, the anti-riot gear that they come with. So you find that there is helter-skelter and chaotic scenes emerge. And of course, in any society, there will always be bad people. There are terrible people out here who are waiting to capitalize on any breach of peace so that they can engage in some unlawful or illegal practice. But then again, this remain relatively silent until the police act. So the actions of the police are the ones that lead to these issues in terms of being there, security of breach, and people getting a leeway to maybe steal an item or another. So when you look at what the Kibra people were doing, there was a peaceful protest. Actually, many people did not realize that happened. They didn't realize until we saw it in the media.
Yes.
So police just stay on guard and remain just alert to act on any provocation.
Yes.
Then these Azimio protests are going to be just protests, and really there is not going to be damage of property or anything related to that.
Yes,
now,
Mr. Kigoli, if you take that direction, then is that an assumption that now Kithure Kindiki is essentially given a new directive to the police forces in the country that once these guys go out, let's not see the kind of addressing that we've been seeing in the past. This coming at a time when 73 demonstrators by there, Mr. Kigoli, who were arrested during the Sabasaba protest on Friday, were freed after the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, that's the DPP, declined to prefer charges. Is there some sort of concurrence now within the government that saying, well, I mean, why are you arresting these people then?
Professor Kithure Kindiki is a rational and soberly thinking Kenyan.
Yes.
And he would apply logic than just political persuasion to any matters. You know, he's a lawyer. He's a seasoned, and he's actually a professor in law. Mm-hmm. So he applies the law in anyhow and any matter that he's engaged in. That's why he's probably must have played one role or the other, I'm not sure, with the Director of Public Prosecution saying, we don't think, or I don't believe there are substantive or serious grounds that these cases can be sustained through the trial process.
Yes.
You know, a case is to be assessed properly that it can sustain trial, so that we don't engage in trying cases that are going to have a dead end. And then you go, you know, taxpayers' resources are going to be committed into these cases, and then it becomes a waste of resources. So you have to be rational. You have to make pragmatic and practical decisions in determining which cases are to be forwarded for prosecution, which one can stand trial, which one will not stand trial, and then be acquitted with everyone meeting their costs. So,
pretty much.
So this is a matter that I think...
Mm-hmm. Mr. Kigoli, I wanted to jump over to the Jubilee party politics now, and I want to put this question to you. Does the new ruling by the Registrar of Political Parties, or sorry, the Parties Tribunal, really discredit one president, Uhuru Kenyatta?
Times have changed, and I think Jubilee did not anticipate a situation such as this.
Yes.
And they did not make hay while the sun was shining. President Kenyatta was in office and commanding all the instruments and channels of power, but they did not build a robust and proper foundation. It must be noted that the really success of Jubilee was as a result of President William Ruto's efforts, energy, the political astuteness or smartness that he has. So it must be attributed that really you cannot beat Ruto now because he beat you when he was at his lowest, and now that he's at his strongest point, I really don't think Jeremiah Kioni and President retired Uhuru Kenyatta would stand any chance at him as far as, because William also wants numbers in the National Assembly. He wants numbers in the Senate. He has his reform agenda that he wants to implement. He has his plan, he calls the plan. So he wants to do it agriculture, he wants to create employment, he wants to turn around Kenya's economy, he wants to invest in production against investing in subsidies. So all these plans will require the support and input of MPs, and this will need that he has to make alliances that will strengthen his chance and possibility of driving his parliamentary agenda forward.
Yes.
And allow me a little latitude, Simba.
Yes.
When I was to speak on a matter here, there was an issue on connection, but just permit me to run through very fast. You had asked about the question of exactly where Azimio are going with these signatures. Now, I thought through, and the Azimio supporters are not properly sensitized as to where these signatures will go. So them will just come out and give signatures and hope that Raila will use them properly as he might want to use them. And when you look at, the issues to do with political endgame, what is it that they want to achieve with these signatures? So they say this illegal and illegitimate government will be bundled out of power. But then the question is, how are we going to, how is Azimio going to ensure that President William Ruto is out of power? It is not easy. It's not going to be easy because of Article 144, Article 145. Unless that is met, the thought of removing President William Ruto is not going to fly unless the Azimio do the miracle, and like a miracle that has never been seen, to flip the numbers to their side to have a super majority, which even in practical sense is not possible. They cannot take away the parliamentary numbers out of Ruto's grip, and that is a pipe dream. They're actually forcing a camel through a very tiny needle than the tiny normal we know, without divine intervention. So unless they get divine intervention, this is just a political gimmick to sustain them all through and to sabotage government's agenda so that President William Ruto will have nothing to campaign on when 2027 comes. But then again, I think William Ruto is aware of this scheme, and he is knowing that Azimio are intermittent. They are not consistent. They keep shifting goalposts. Today they'll come, they say, we want secession. Tomorrow they'll come and say, we want Ruto out of power. Today they say, we just want the cost of living to come down. So pick a course and advance on it satisfactorily. You have to be consistent. Even independent political and policy analysts agree that Azimio has been vacillating. They change, they keep shifting goalposts. So if they can adopt a good position and they have a drafted, and because they say they don't want a handshake. Okay, what do you want? All right, they want Ruto out of power. They want self-determination. They want the cost of, yes, those are legitimate things, except of course for secession, which I do not support.
Pretty much. Mr. Sifuna, sorry, Mr. Kigoli, let me just hold your sentence right there. We have 5 minutes. I want to pick also the sentiments of Mr. Rogo in the studio. Dan, is it possible that is nowhere these signatures are going? Because now that's exactly what we're going to start with tomorrow. They're back to the streets and they're saying, well, we're going to collect the signatures. It is just for Ruto to know very well that majority of Kenyans do not want him in government. Do you think that they shall have achieved?
You see, sentiments from colleagues, and I told you way in the beginning that there are a number of avenues, legal routes, there were legal hurdles. And I told you our neighbors in West Africa had the same issues in 2015, where a popular government of Blaise Compaoré was in cahoot with the National Assembly and the Parliament of Burkina Faso. And the citizens did not find a way of holding the government of the day to accountable because the Constitution, the framers of the Constitution, did not envision that to happen.
Yes.
Then the citizens of the Republic of Burkina Faso went and demanded and set the parliament on fire. and the government had to listen. What is legal or not? It was illegal, it was not political, it was political, and the government had to go. Right up here in Tunisia, again the same issue. The President Ben Ali conspired with the National Assembly. Citizens were having different economic, downturn by that time. When they tried to petition the parliament, they were not able to get a breakthrough. Because there is a way the executive goes in bed with the parliament. The citizens are left at the mercy of the people of civil society. What do? So I am not saying that similar cases would happen to extreme cases. Kenyans are beyond setting their parliament in fire. Kenyans are beyond doing other extreme things. I think we are beyond doing that. But the thing that I'm telling you, if I was a president of Republic of Kenya and people collect million signatures and over, I would not sit pretty. That of course I have the Senate in my pocket, that I have the National Assembly, in my political affiliations in majority. Because what other people in the government do not want to listen is especially when invoke Chapter 1 and the Article 1 of the Constitution. People do not like that. But let me tell you, the framers put that clause there as a superseding clause and as a precedence for other clauses. Kenyans can decide to take matters at their own hands and go and petition this government and request for this government and portrays that this government is not taking care of the matters that are affecting them. It is possible to happen.
Yes.
Because you're pushing Kenyans to do that.
Yes.
Like I've said, some of these things that are happening is the blunders. The President of the Republic of Kenya might have a heart for Kenyans. And he's been going out saying that, you see, he knows the suffering Kenyans are going through. But why is it that the parliament do not understand? Why is it that every other arms of this government do not understand that Kenyans are actually suffering in this particular juncture? But also allow me to say this. It's quite easy for us to quote the articles and the Constitution and all this. It's quite easy for us to do that. But I'm saying that if the reality hits, that could be a different thing. That's what I'm saying. So, as I go back to other issues about, the governance issues, whether the government is right or whether the government is taking a hard decision. And let me tell you, you asked one of my colleagues who, unfortunately his time ran, but I wanted to tell him that you see the media, and you told us on set last year when we were having this particular question about argument, you see the political class cannot dictate what the media covers. It can't. And one of my colleagues in the last set was telling me about, international media are covering this government well, but the local media are finding it. Let me tell you, the media is another arm that we should also, that's why it's called the fourth estate. And the media is accountable to the people as well. It is the prerogative of the media to have a balanced and a fair coverage and being accountable.
Yes.
It is not incumbent on us as politicians or whoever to tell you what you should be telling us to discuss.
Yes.
It is incumbent of us to come and articulate what you want us to articulate. If, and I repeat, and as I repeated in the last session, if the government do not have people that can articulate the issues of the government, it is not your problem.
Pretty much.
If the opposition do not have enough people to come and articulate the issues of the position, it is not your problem. If the civil society do not have people that you invite on set to come and articulate issues for the people, it is not your problem. So no one should tell you whether you should be guiding other media stations or not. It is upon you to do your work. Responsible, accountable, free, and fair coverage.
Pretty much. Mr. Kigodle, I wish I had some more time just to pick your final sentiments on this particular issue, but I do promise that I'm going to call you back again so we can actually continue then to have this kind of conversation this morning. I'm getting told by my director that we've run out of time this morning. I'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Kigodle, for joining us this morning for this conversation, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Rogo, always a pleasure to have you around,
Thank you.
sir.
All right, it's a pleasure.
Take this gentleman online back to the time that he joined us in the studio this morning at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kia Geseba. Goodbye and good morning.